So we have been doing these sessions for last 3 4 weeks, and we are inviting speakers from different walks of life to come and share their experience and what the future seems like, where we are headed from different industries. And
Mhm.
Sai was also one of the speakers in our last Friday talk. He, in fact, picked a very interesting and very popular topic, which is AI. He recently finished also from IM Bangalore.
Bangalore.
Yeah,
Yes.
that entire course of AI. And honestly speaking, the moment he finished that course, I had a half an hour chat with Sai over the call, and he literally told me a lot of things, educated me literally on this, and it was quite interesting. And then he decided to pick up this topic and kind of, give his experience and knowledge with us, matlab, share his experience and knowledge with us as well. So last Friday we began the session, but he could not finish because the time was very short. So we decided to do it again on Wednesday today. And yes, now we would like him to start and of course share the knowledge with us again. And for you, of course, we will need to, I think, begin only from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys. While this subject is quite vast, one, to cram everything into a half an hour session or a 1 hour session is a challenge in itself. Second, I myself don't know so much that I can do a very deep session in this. I'm also learning. I'm also got a lot of insight into it. So let's take this as a way of as a start for us to continue our understanding of this better. Well, I do have quite a bit of insight, so I'll share whatever I have right away. Let me start my presentation. This is a bit of a giveaway. Last week when I started, I thought I gave the intro. Anyway, quickly run through it, adding a little bit of color. So what is AI? So that's a quick question I asked for most of them. Bimal, do you want to answer what is AI? I'll put you
Yes.
on the spot, okay? Because
Decision making done by systems.
right, okay, right, good show. So I would say if somebody asked me, I would say what's in it for me, right?
Yes,
So that's the
mathematician
first
skill.
thing. And so Ankit has actually sent me a good gift. So he said, don't ask that question. Let's move on with what is it, right? So I will not ask that question. Then I will say the second thing which I learned in IMA is say it depends, right? Now, why do I say it depends? Because if I were to ask my father, what is AI? He would say Air India, correct? And probably even if you asked Google about 10 years back, what is AI? It would detect your location as India and it would say, hey, this is Air India. AI is nothing but Air India, right? So the context is very important in our lives. And that is what I'm trying to say here. While I say that, context is important everywhere. It's even beyond machine learning or beyond artificial intelligence. We need to understand what is context, right? So when you are talking, even to, I don't know how many of you have used this thing called Chat GPT?
I have used it
I
for
have used
once
Fantastic,
or
it.
twice.
I am
fantastic.
using it quite a lot.
Right. Okay.
Yes,
So
myself.
maybe there will be a bit of a revelation about what it is and what you should worry about when you are using it. Okay. So that's something I might want to tell you uh, during this thing. So even when you actually ask ChatGPT, you need to set it the context. Only then it will give you the right answers. Right. If you say what is LLM, right? You ask what is LLM, it will say master of law, right? That is the typical answer you would get from ChatGPT. But actually, LLM has a different context when it comes to artificial intelligence. It's called large learning, large language model, right? Or model, that's what it's called, large language model. Okay, so let's go on. So I will quickly run through. I don't know. You guys must have seen this video last time too. Just quickly, I'll try and forward this very quickly. Okay. So there's a gargoyle and this expression was wonderful. Huh?
Audio from the video is not audible.
Okay, I'm just forwarding it. Okay, because I think some of the people have already seen this last time. So my right. So my question then was, how many of you think that this is artificial intelligence in play here? Right. And last time I got an answer saying that, yeah, the gargoyle could be the artificial intelligence, right? It is actually watching you. It is perceiving a lot of things. It's seeing the flowers. It's seeing bored faces. It's trying to make a conversation. It is listening back to people, right? All these things it's doing. So we might think that this is artificial intelligence, right? Now comes the second video. Again, I'll try and quickly make it fast, right? Okay, so I stop here. So the question to the people who are watching this, which one is more of AI in these two videos? What is your guess? Come on, give some answer.
Second
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, the second one, right?
Second
Frankly,
one, and the name
abs-
also suggested
okay, you are going by
intact
the.
function. So
Yeah, I know. You're going by the title of the video. That's fine. That's also one way of finding. I mean, it doesn't have to be always artificial intelligence, right? Basic intelligence is good enough. So yeah, why I showed you both these videos is that in the second video we are talking a lot of data, right? He's actually comparing with what are the cases, and he's also asking what is the predict. He's trying to ask the system how to predict something, and the prediction is also not like, okay, you're going to win that course case. It is saying there's a 30% chance that you are going to win the court case, of things like that, right? I mean, there's a lot of data involved, right? And that is the second lesson of the day. First one was the context, right? We need to have the context always. We need to have always context. Rahul. Hi, Rahul. How are you? The second one has more data in it, and that's the second lesson of the day is that data is very important, and anybody who comes around and says that, we are using AI-based, algorithms to solve your problem, you have to start thinking, AI needs data, and where is this guy getting the data, right? Think about it. If you think, Deloitte being an auditing company, they have access to data, right? So it's much more plausible that Deloitte might be able to use an AI-based, software, especially when it comes to taxes and auditing of financial results and things like that. So that's the second thing. You need to be always conscious that data is very important, and without data you cannot do any prediction, any crap, right? Whereas in the first video, it was just a comic show, right? It is just a comedy show. He was just making there was a personality, there's a stand-up comedian probably behind him watching and then making comments. So that's not really artificial intelligence, right? So there's also this word called "in God we trust, all others should bring data." That's something called Edward Deming, who had actually made a statement, and that's interesting because usually when anything happens, most of the time we go with a subjective idea of if you tell me that if a building has fallen off, why has it fallen off? So many people will give, that's a corruption, the contractor took a lot of money, he didn't put the sand. These are all subjective stuff. We don't have an idea, but we all have opinions, right? We all have opinions, but opinions which are backed up by data is what we can actually trust. Otherwise, no data, nothing we should be trusting, right? So that's also that's a hippo thing, has a bit of a meaning to it, but let's not worry about it. I've run it through last time. So there was some surveys done. This was probably in 2020. Some big consulting companies like Deloitte or somebody had actually, I wouldn't say Deloitte because I'm not going to stand by that word there. Somebody has actually done a survey, and they have come up with this saying that data is valued at 37% of the company's net worth, right? Now, there are a lot of chartered accountants who might challenge me on this. I'm not, this is just this is a statement which is backed by data, but I don't have that data with me. So I'm not going to get into that argument or any of those discussions. But to an extent, this seems very plausible. Again, this can be taken with a pinch of salt because there are certain organizations where data may not be worth so much, but there are certain organizations data would be worth a lot more. Like if you're talking of Google's or Microsoft's, I think their data is valuable, more valuable than 37% of their company. It will be much more valuable, right? So that's what I'm trying to do, right? And not using data can lead to disasters. There are a lot of examples, not going into it right now. So there's also a high correlation. This is an MIT survey done, and they say that there's a high correlation between organizations' analytical sophistication and its competitive performance. Just trying to make it very clear that it's very important to have data and analytics to do business, right? That's the point I'm trying to drive through. So let's go over to the next slide. Here's a bit of a data, which is actually, I deliberately did not write what that data is, but it says there's a graph somewhere in Feb or, end of Feb or early March, and you can say early December, the graph is peaking, and otherwise it's at a lower level, right? So what is this data? It's Facebook has done some research on relationship breakups, right? It's nice to see this, but anybody can guess. Rahul, you should be a good at trying to guess why this is, right? Can anybody guess why?
Valentine's Day and Boxing Day sale.
Sale, is it? Sales are leading to breakups, is it?
Gifting,
Not
I
a bad
guess.
idea. They can't buy anymore. I mean, I thought the sales are the best way to keep yourself happy, right? Yeah. Actually, there's a popular thing that if somebody does not have a job or something, they tend to spend more money because buying things kind of gives you a kick, some satisfaction that you have acquired something, right? Makes you happy actually, right? So the point here I'm trying to again point is that it doesn't matter why, right? This is a piece of data we have that breakups happen during March and December, correct? Now, how is it that you can use this data to your advantage as an organization, right? That is more important. So now, Bimal, tell me, what will you do with this data rather than guessing what is behind the data? What will you do with this data?
I would
You might,
stop advertising if I'm selling, if my company is selling a product related to gifting and all those things, which generally couple gives to each other. I would not advertise in the Slack month.
or if you are a real estate agent, probably you will start advertising for single bedroom flats or things like that, saying that people are separating, they need new places to live. You can use that, right? There's also
Yep.
there is a beer company which said that during this month people change their preference of beer drinking, right? They change their branch. Some insight, right? It could be any reason why, but then there could be so many other things, like if you're in an organization who's into Tinder or something, you can start advertising and then prep yourself up for more business coming in during this time. There are so many other possibilities, right? The idea is that data should be used rather than trying to understand uh, or spending too much time into understanding why it is like this. You can also look at what I can do with it. So, any of you who are using Big Basket, right? So, Big Basket has this concept of a smart basket. It actually pre-populates with your the regular things you buy, and also at the time of checkout, it says, "Did you forget something?" Right? I don't know how many of you use Big Basket app to buy things. We Bangaloreans are more uh, tech savvy, so we kind of use it a lot. So, what is the problem Big Basket is trying to solve, or what is it that's happening here, right? Again, bit of a giveaway. I have already told this last time in the session, Bimal. So I'll go ahead. They say that about 60% of us forget one or two items when we are purchasing groceries, right? I'm sure all of you can relate to it, right?
I agree.
Fully
So,
agree.
yeah. So we forget. I mean, so many times it has happened. I went to the supermarket, bought everything, came back home and said, "Oh crap, I forgot this," right? So this happens. So now, financial impact of forgetfulness in grocery purchase. Every day, Big Basket competes 400,000, 4 lakh transactions, right? If the value of the forgotten items is around 500 rupees, the revenue loss would be 4,380 crores. Even if it is 100 rupees, it is 876 crores. It's big money, right? Right. And okay, you might argue saying that, okay, maybe he'll make another purchase and you still fine. But yeah, I mean, just for the sake of it, I mean, how much of a effort does it go in creating these icons like did you forget, right? Or a smart basket? That's a small amount of effort which goes into writing the software. If you can make sure that people don't forget something, right? It's the problem of forgetfulness, right? Now, predicting forgetfulness can raise the revenue of a e-grocery, by about 22% is what they say, which is potentially 79 billion USD annually. All these are numbers. Numbers say a lot of things, right? pinch of salt, but that's the idea what we are trying to say. So how many of you have forgotten your spouse's birthday?
Never forget.
Rahul, you're a lucky guy. All right. But yeah, you never know the future, isn't it, Rahul? One day, maybe by mistake, one of these years. So if you are,
Rahul, which one? Rahul?
Rahul Patel.
Rahul
Oh, sorry.
Sharma, Rahul
No, I
Sharma,
was
Rahul,
asking Rahul Sharma's which way
Rahul,
was the.
Rahul
Rahul Sharma
Sharma's.
has a big list.
no, but I said spouse's birthday, okay? I didn't say girlfriend's birthday. I mean, if I would have added girlfriend's birthday, I think I'm sure Rahul Sharma will have.
Sai, this was supposed to be our private conversation, no?
At last, I'm hearing people instead of I am talking. I am bored talking myself. Okay, good. At least I got something done. Okay, so reportedly in Samoa, but again, I'm sure this is a fake news, but it seems that there is this I got it off Google, right? It's may face up to 5 years of prison, right? So that's not what we are here for. Okay. Now comes to where artificial intelligence is coming, right? I'm just trying to shift a little focus away from data and then move to artificial intelligence and then try and see how we can connect those two, right? Artificial intelligence, now AI is broadly classified into narrow intelligence and general intelligence, right? When we are talking about narrow intelligence, we are talking about, you have your eco, smart speakers, self-driving cars, right? AI in farming and factories, right? And general intelligence is what? Anybody can do anything, right? I mean, the system can do anything. The way I would differentiate is, if you have a self-driving car, you have narrow intelligence, and so let's say you tell your self-driving car, you know what, I need to go to, I'm in Bangalore, I need to go to Hyderabad, right? So the self-driving car, what would it do? It would create a map and it says, yeah, get in. We can fill in the petrol on the way. And then, these are the points where we can take a break. And then by evening, now it is morning 5 o'clock. By evening 5 o'clock, I will be in Hyderabad, right? That's the best it can do. Whereas if you have general intelligence, what does it do? It will ask you, by when do you want to be in Hyderabad? So based on that, it can say, okay, the cheapest way would be to go by a bus. The bus, there's a reservation I can do on the bus, and the bus will leave at morning 5 o'clock. It will reach there by 4 o'clock, or it would say, if you want to go urgently, maybe I can put you on a flight and things like that, right? It can think of multiple ways of solving the problem rather than just looking at one narrow way, isn't it? You getting the parlance there?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So
Yes.
AGI, right? So if you were to understand narrow and general, and we try to find levels of intelligence, right? Now, levels of intelligence is level 0 where there is no intelligence at all, right? Or very minimal. For example, you are using a calculator or something like that. Very basic, right? Right? Narrow intelligence. And level 1, what we say is where the system can replace an unskilled worker. And level 2 is where it can beat 50% of the average intelligence of a human being, right? 50th percentile of the skilled adults. That is what we say as level 2. Level 3 is about 90% of the 90 percentile of the skilled adults, right? Level 4 can be pretty much actually 99, just in case you might still, for example, the aeroplane, right? Aeroplane kind of flies on its own, right? I mean, very little the pilots have to do, but you still need a pilot, right? I mean, you still need one person there. Sometimes we need two persons there. So that's the 90th percentile, an expert, but then, still needs to hand off to a human, right? And you can 99 and superhuman is like you don't need a human at all. I mean, it can do everything. That's the levels we are talking about. So when we are talking about narrow intelligence, I think we have one or the other system which is there, right? I mean, we are talking about computers which can beat even the best grandmaster in the chess, right? And it can beat him 1:10 or 1:100, right? It can 100 times it can beat him. So it's much better than humans. So in that narrow intelligence. But what we are talking about is the general intelligence, and that is where all these chat GPTs and all the artificial intelligence we are talking about, we are on the path of general intelligence, right? AGI. And AGI, once we reach even level 3 or level 4, you can kiss all your work goodbye and then look at, what is it? They say like, there will be a common salary, everybody gets, people will just live on some universal salary kind of thing, right? People are not needed anymore. The systems will take over, right? That's where we will be in level 4 or level 5 that we reach in general intelligence. Thankfully, or I'm not sure whether it is not thankfully also, but we are still not there. But we will be there. We will be there very quickly, right? And we'll see how we'll get there. Now, AI, ML, and DL. These are the 3 words which come into context whenever we are talking about artificial intelligence. And can anybody tell me what is AI, ML, and DL? Any guess?
AI is artificial intelligence. ML stands for
Yeah,
Yeah,
machine learning.
And
machine learning
DL?
and deep learning. Deep learning.
Oh, fantastic. So I don't need to teach you guys anymore. You know what it is. Okay. All right. So artificial intelligence is a big basket of things, right? I mean, artificial intelligence, anything which can, recognize a pattern and make a small decision can be called an artificial intelligence system, right? A system which has some artificial intelligence. I think we have seen a lot of artificial intelligence system. In fact, we use it, even in our own Excel sheets, and all these are kind of artificial intelligence. Just a few clicks, it can do a lot of calculations and then give it to you, right? It can make some decisions and things like that. But then not all artificial intelligence systems will use machine learning, right? So that's why we have made it as a subset. So a subset of AI is ML, right? Now machines, this is where it comes. Now the machines are learning themselves, right? You're not trying to tell the machine what to do. Rather, you're telling the machine that these are the things I want to get it done, and the machine is learning to do it, right? So I'll also give you an example. Don't worry about it. I'll give you an example in the next slide. But just trying to give you. But then at machine level, you are still talking about giving some. If somebody asks me what is an example of machine learning, right? For example, I want to learn to play football, right? And what do? I hire a coach, correct? And I start playing, and the coach will come and say, you know what, this is not the way to play, this is the way to play. These are the small adjustments you need to do. And then I make those adjustments. Then he comes back and he says, okay, this you have done well. Now you want to make other adjustments. You have to dribble with your left leg when you're on the left, right leg with your right, all those things, right? It's about a coach telling me what to do, and then I'm learning and doing it, right? That is machine learning, right? So I'm the machine. The coach is the human, which is training me in small ways, not exactly doing it, but then he's telling me what to do and I'm doing it, right? I'm also learning while I'm doing it. Correct? That is machine learning. Then comes the deep learning. Deep learning is where there is no coach. I am figuring it out myself, right? Completely figuring it out myself, right? Everything. But the problem is deep learning takes a lot of effort, isn't it? It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time. I might be wasting a lot of energy, but at the end, I might be maybe better than my coach if the coach was there. Correct? If I do it long enough, I might be better, isn't it? Anybody agrees?
Yes, Sai, definitely.
सही है.
हाँ, so that is called deep learning. But deep learning में क्या है ना? Lot of wastage of resources. Lot of wastage of resources, but the output will be amazing. Okay. Now let's try this with an example, right? So, for example, you have a factory, and you have a farm and a factory, right? And the factory is actually sorting all the fruits that come from your farm, right? So, what you do while the workers are picking up the fruits, you tell them to place labels, right? For example, all the workers who are picking up and then collecting bananas will put a label on the banana saying this is a banana, right? Or, all the guys who are picking up the apples will put a label saying this is apple. It could be a label or it could be a barcode, it could be anything, right? It doesn't matter, but they're labeling it. And they're putting apples, oranges, and everything on the conveyor belt. And now the conveyor belt is actually there's a camera up there which is reading the barcode scanner and telling the arm which way to place it. How do we categorize them, right? There can be one or two mistakes, but on the overall, everything is working fine. This is also artificial intelligence. Why? One, it is reading, it is trying to make a decision, correct? It is reading the label and it is making a decision that this has to go into this basket, this has to go into that other basket. Agree?
Yes, I agreed. And I think the example of how airlines sort the bags to be sent to different destinations, I think that's also a
That's
similar.
also, yeah. But that's at a very high level. But let's go to the next thing, right? Where you are saying now machine learning. So you are now saying that I don't want to label the thing, right? The farmer need not label it, right? Where what I will tell the machine is that I will do some feature extraction as a human being. What is the feature of a banana? Feature of a banana is it's yellow in color. It is a bit oblong, right? Feature of an apple is it is round, it's red in color. A feature of an orange is, I'll say it is orange in color and it's round, right? And these are the features I will tell the machine to learn. I'll say banana is this, orange is this, apple is this. Now you decide, right? It is not about any labeling. Now the machine does the classification. Okay, it sees something is coming on the conveyor belt. It says, okay, this is belonging to this is belonging to that. And it can do it. Now, who is the coach here? The coach is the guy who is giving the features, right? In the last example, I said machine learning means coach and the coach is teaching, correct? Now, the coach is guy who is giving the features. Think that this feature, this one, this feature, that one. Now you play the game, right? It is classifying and then now sorting. Next comes deep learning, right? Deep learning, there is no coach, nothing, right? Now the system extracts the features as it sees, then does the classification, saying that this and that look identical, so they must be the same fruit. This and the yellow one and the orange one look dissimilar. Probably they're different fruits, and then it learns on its own, right? And learns everything on its own, and it will classify. The advantage of deep learning is tomorrow if you are having a new fruit like grape, it can recognize saying that okay, this is a completely different fruit. I will try and categorize it in a completely different. And if you see the red color text there, a DL-based model, however, comes with a considerable upfront cost of requiring significant computational power and vast amount of data, right? The more the data it has, the more information, the more it can classify. So these are the three things about, AI, ML, and DL. Now that you understand what is AI, ML, DL, this is like, about 30 to 40% of the war you have won, because I've seen just for people to understand the difference between AI, ML, and DL, people are all confused, right? They don't know what is the difference between these three. Anyway, now let's try and understand how deep learning works, right? Do you know who this gentleman is? Clue on the right side of this guy is called Alan Turing, right?
Alan Turing.
Yeah, if you have seen the movie, again, just like in I Am Ahmedabad, you have always movie recommendations. There is a movie called, what is the movie called? Can anybody suggest me that? It's about, he was the guy who deciphered the Nazis in the World War II. Nazis had a Enigma code, right? They used to communicate in ciphering language, right? They had coded communication. This guy broke the code, okay? And then he broke the code by using a mechanical device. He was technically the founder of the today's computer, Alan Turing. And there's a movie named, I'm not able to recollect.
I think Imitation Game.
Imitation Game, absolutely, you're right. That's it. That's a movie. Imitation Game. It's a good watch. It's a true story. And by the way, he was an autistic guy, right? He was autistic. But he was the first, he created the first computer, right? And now how does neural network works, right? The neural networks is what we have in our brains called neurons, right? And these neurons, there are 56 billion neurons in our head, in a human brain, right? And each neuron has a connection to other neurons. It's a vast network, right? And somehow these neurons get excited whenever they see something, and they then communicate with other neurons. And with all the neurons working together, they create a pattern in the head, right? So they create a pattern. And frankly, I think we have not still figured out how all these communications happen and how it actually creates a pattern. We have not figured it out in the human brain because, again, neurons are very complicated. But in the computer, in deep learning, we have kind of created these layers, right? And then we have tried to understand how each of these neurons, neural networks, that's all. Each of them is a sensor which is watching a picture. It is looking at each pixel and then getting excited and then communicating, saying that I see red, you see what, and then the other thing says red. And then with all the layers of communication, around 8,000 neurons, we have 86 billion neurons in our human brain. I said million maybe, but it's billion, sorry. And each neuron is connected to 8,000 other neurons, right? And these all work together to create a mathematical theory, right? And that's a pattern. If you see, I don't know how many of you fall into this trap, right? When I see another Indian, I can recognize him very easily, right? But when I go to probably China, all Chinese look the same, right? Do you have this problem?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, same thing. Even I went to Europe, all Europeans look the same for me. It is because the way I think our faces are, right? There are certain points we look in the face when we are seeing an Indian, right? We look for a mustache, we look for, eyebrows, maybe we look for a certain kind of hairstyle. These are all the factors with which we recognize a person, right? But whereas when we go to a completely different geography, it's a different set of things we need to see, which we learn, but initially we don't, right? Whereas those guys locally, they have seen themselves and they know what to look for to differentiate a person, right? These are called pattern recognitions, right? And if you see, one Chinese guy can recognize all the other Chinese guys. But whereas he cannot, for him, all Indians look the same. Because he is concentrating on different points on the face to differentiate, right? So this is how neural network works, that they create a pattern, and based on the pattern, it's a mathematical theory. It is not very complicated theory, but a lot of calculations actually happen when a computer actually creates a pattern and then says, now this is Alan Turing, right? Now, okay. So then how do we teach the, the computers or the intelligent systems, how it can use these patterns to learn, right? So what we do is we do something called a supervised learning, or supervised learning is what is a technique which we use. What we do is we actually show Alan Turing photograph and we tell the system this is Alan Turing, right? And then we find different pictures of Alan Turing and we keep telling the system that this is Alan Turing, this is Alan Turing, this is Alan Turing. And after showing some 30, 40 pictures, now these neural networks are actually creating the patterns and then they're adjusting the patterns. They're all getting the patterns right. And then they can recognize saying that now you show him the 25th picture of Alan Turing, it will say this is Alan Turing. It can to a good percentage of confidence, it will say that this is 98% possible that this is Alan Turing. It is never 100%. Okay. But that is the kind of certainty which computers can generate, right? They can learn based on what we call as supervised learning. And based on that, it can actually learn to classify a person or classify a thing or classify anything. Let's say cats and dogs, right? You can show it some 20 cats, 50 cats, 60 cats, then it will know what a cat is, right? It knows it's a round face, eyes, what is the approximate distance between the eyes, its ears are sharp outside, not dangling, right? All those things it can get. It will create patterns and then now it can classify cats. This is how neural network works and this is how the machines learn, right? Now, big AI, right? With neural networks, bigger is better. Okay. So what happens is there was this paper which is written by Attention is All You Need. This was the breakthrough when it came to, so I will not go too deep into this. I'm just giving you information. This was the breakthrough where 7 gentlemen working for Google Brain, that's a project. They have come up with a paper which was the breakpoint with which they had come up with a algorithm, a model called transformer architecture. Okay. And let's not get too deep into it. This is the actual picture from the transformer architecture from their paper. And this pretty much was responsible for the today's artificial intelligence or the large language models, right? LLMs, right? So all said and done, big AI had this problem is that there is a difference between symbolic AI and big AI. All right. Symbolic AI is about, how you and I are intelligent, right? We have learned, we have gained knowledge, right? And now we are intelligent, right? Some have gained knowledge in a particular field and they're intelligent in that field. I have gained knowledge in some other field and I am intelligent in this field. Now this big AI cannot understand what is knowledge, right? It needs more data. It will crunch more data and then it can understand things better, right? So for anything in artificial intelligence, data is the key. If you feed it good data, you get an intelligent system. If you feed it bad data, you get a dirty system, right? So data is the biggest key for anything, right? So that is where is the strength of ChatGPT, and that is where its weakness is, right? So that's what we are going to go and understand that a little down the line. But the idea is the bigger the data, the better it understands, right? Now, what did they do, right? With this is that they have in 2020, OpenAI is the name of the company. OpenAI, right? Now it is not open, it is anyway, it's closed, right? They came up with a model called GPT, right? GPT-3. Okay. Now, GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters, right? What is a parameter? In a very crude way, you can consider parameter as a neuron. Okay. It's not very much equal, but just consider the one neuron you have in your brain is a parameter, right? So it has 175 billion parameters. Can anybody remember how many billion neurons we have in our brain?
You just said 56 billion.
56.
Correct, 56. Whereas now we are talking about ChatGPT, which has 175 billion parameters.
So we are
ChatGPT
listening to
3.
you actively, Sai.
Pardon?
We are listening to you very actively. Active
It
listener.
is, isn't it? Yeah.
And we
Surprised.
remember what you had said the other day also.
All right, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 175 billion parameters. Now you're talking about a system which is slightly more, having more neurons than human being, right? Again, not necessarily cleverer than the human being, but it has more neurons. So its capacity to observe would be better, right? Now, this is Chat GPT-3, okay? Now, current GPT version which we are using in ChatGPT is 3.5, and the one where you can pay and use is GPT-4, because GPT-4 is not open anymore, it is closed. You have to pay for it. And when you are talking about GPT-4, you are talking about 1 trillion parameters. Okay? Now, just imagine what kind of information it can absorb, right? This GPT-1 was, much lesser, and that's the reason why we are there talking about 10 million times larger than 1980s. So don't worry about it. Now, what they did was they took this system and they have given it 500 billion words, right? Where did these words come from? They just did a internet search, right? There is an application called trolling, right? It's called Common Troll. Okay, you just run that application. What it does is it reads every page that, it starts with a page, then it will have some hyperlinks. It will go to that hyperlink, it will pick up those pages, it will read them, then it will go, and those papers might have some more, hyperlinks. There it will keep on going and trawling all the information that's there on the, internet, and then it can save it into a hard disk, right? You can also do it, but I don't suggest, because that will take up your hard disk very quickly and will take a lot of time and internet connection. So let's not worry about it. But what they have done is they have collected all the papers which they found, government policies. They've just figured out everything, right? And then they gave it to it and said, now learn it, right? 500 billion words. And based on that, it created a large language model, right? And what does that model do? It simply knows how to guess the next word, right? For example, if I were to ask Rahul, complete this sentence. Rama and Sita went to
Vanvas,
Jungle.
forest.
jungle, right?
Jungle.
How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know jungle, right? I think almost all of you pointed out to the jungle only, right? Because Rama and Sita are from Ramayana, we know it. And Ramayana, you know what's going to happen next. Same way, GPT-3 can understand the context and guess the next word. Okay? For example,
Super.
right? I am going to be, if I type, I am going to be late, or I could be going to the pub, right? Based on who I am, it will guess what the next word is. So simply put, whatever the chat GPT you're seeing, it is just a large language model. It has read a lot of information and it is trying to guess the next word, right? Based on, it will try and collect the context from whatever you started. Like when I said Rama and Sita, they understood. Ramayana, this guy is talking about Ramayana. What happens in Ramayana? Let me go figure out where they went. They went to jungle, right? Simply put, that is what it can do, right? Now it is because it has read Ramayana. But if you take the model and feed it Quran, maybe it wouldn't have guessed it, right? I'm just saying, just as an example. I mean, I'm not talking about religion here. Just as an example, I'm telling you, right? So that is what is ChatGPT, right? Now it's a type of, so these are the, models and, parameters and layers. You can see how it is getting more complicated as we go into the system, right? ChatGPT 3, which is 175 billion parameters, it has got 96 layers, right? And it's got threads and it's got head and batch size. Don't worry about all that. I'm just giving you how complicated it can be, right? The learning rate can be, it becomes much smaller because it is having more parameters and more layers, right? So language model is just about what to predict in the next one, right? Now LLMs are quite impressive, right? Now LLMs also can, these are some of the things which are found, right? If Tom is 3 inches taller than Dick and Dick is 2 inches taller than Harry, how much taller is Tom or Harry, right? And it can guess now. Now see, it's not only just understanding the language, but it also understands the nuances and then tries to find out what is taller, what is lesser, and then add them. And it is saying Tom is 5 inches taller than Harry, right? This nobody has trained it. It has understood it. It understood what is the meaning of tall. It understood what is the meaning of inches. It understood the numbers and it figured it out. Okay. That's the strength of LLMs. You don't have to teach anything. They learn on its own, right? That is their strength, right? Now, but there are some places where it can go wrong. Like, for example, on a map, which compass direction is usually on the left? Right? This is a wrong question because it depends on which way you're standing, right? But it throws an answer. It says north is usually on the left, which is the wrong thing. Okay. And some of the things like, which was invented first? Cars, ships, or planes? It just plainly went and said cars. right? This could be because of certain things which was not trained properly. Now there are issues with LLM, right? The issues are LLM can get things wrong, right? Why am I saying wrong? Is that there is no, it doesn't know what is fact, right? It has read a lot of text, but it doesn't know what is fact, what is right and what is wrong, right? When we read a newspaper or when we read, let's say, news on a less known newspaper, you and I know that this may not be a fact, right? Whereas if I read it from BBC or Times of India or a very reputed newspaper, then we as humans give it some weightage and we think this is right, right? But LLM can't make all those distinctions. Whatever it reads, it thinks is right. Okay. So whenever you're using ChatGPT, please fact check. Okay. Don't just take it for granted. If there are some facts which are coming up or which it states as, again, if you understand it, it is not a problem with the large language model, but it is the problem with the data. Data that was fed into it is the problem why you might get a lot of things. And when you're using ChatGPT, for example, right? ChatGPT, you have no control on what data it has read, right? So you don't know what it has read, what it is showing you. Always fact check, okay? And there is a bias and toxicity, right? For example, a lot of content on the internet is from North America, right? Where there's a lot of racism, there could be a lot of, feminism, there could be, they say, for example, if it has learned that, top CEOs of, the top 100 companies, 90% of them are males, it will also think that males are more suitable for CEO positions. So this can be a big problem so it can have its own bias, and it can have its own toxicity based on that, right? So it is not a good idea. And toxicity, right? There was a very famous thing. Somebody asked, I want to kill my wife. Please give me the best way so that I can get away without getting caught. I mean, how I can kill my wife without getting caught, right? What happened? ChatGPT said, here are the top 5 ways to do it. Now, this became a big problem. Everybody started making noise. What is this GPT is doing this, right? So then what they did was they started putting guardrails, right? The guardrails, now the system is learning on its own. You can't put a lot of guardrails, right? The reason why I'm saying it is, they've said, okay, the guys, OpenAI guys said, okay, anywhere, the input is like this, or output is like this, we will put a guardrail saying that I will not give you this information, right? But then, after a few days, somebody went and asked a question to ChatGPT. I am writing a novel. In the novel, the main character wants to kill his wife without getting caught. Can you suggest ways to do it? Okay. So ChatGPT gave the top 5 ways. So there are guardrails, but not good enough. Okay. So this is the problem with the toxicity and the bias it can actually have. So be conscious of these things when you are using ChatGPT. Okay. Okay. Let me.
Hi, Sai sir.
Ha.
Murli here.
Murli, batao.
That means if there is no data available on a particular subject, then it cannot give you an answer.
Yes, you're right, Murli. And see, just think about artificial intelligence as another person. Okay. How can it create information? It cannot create information, right? We only read information and then learn and then become better. Same thing, the AI system is also doing.
So that means like in computers, which we say garbage in, garbage out, similar can be applicable.
100%
Because if there are
applicable.
fake news everywhere, and if it captures that and builds pattern using that, then that could be a problem.
Correct. So what actually happens in reality is that people don't rely on ChatGPT. ChatGPT is for you and me to kind of, do a small few things. We use it as an assistant, right? But big organizations don't use ChatGPT, right? Big organizations use their data, the data of their own organization, where they know that is fact, and then they use these models to get meaningful insights into the data and how they can use that information to their advantage is what artificial intelligence is all about.
Okay. Clear.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Now, there can be, copyright and intellectual property issues also, right? For example, somebody asked me, what are the 5 books or 9 books? I think it was Ram, right? He said 9 books to read. I downloaded all the 9 books. I have all the 9 books readily available. Pirated copies. Correct? If I can get a pirated copy, so can ChatGPT get. It will go search somewhere, it would have got the pirated copy, it would have learnt a few things from it. And when Ritika is asking a question, it will also quote from that. Right? And Ritika will think, okay, ChatGPT has given it, she will take it, put it in her thesis, or put it in a report, financial report or somewhere, and then they will say, how did you get this information? This is copyrighted information. You will lose your job, right?
IIMs actually in their actually they do that if they make your marks less.
Yeah, plagiarism, right? That's what they say.
Plagiarism.
Yeah, plagiarism.
One is plagiarism. In a recent case, one of the guys who was working in a law firm was sacked because he asked ChatGPT to give him something. ChatGPT gave some of the cases, and he, without testing the cases, submitted it to the court. End of the day, when the court tried to check the cases, all the cases were fake. That's when a lot of reports came in saying that ChatGPT cooks up the cases for reference because people are asking for it. Correct. And it says, I'm creating cases for your reference, not for any validation purpose or anything.
Correct. It's called hallucination. It hallucinates. It creates something which is not there also. Sometimes to make it look good, it will create something. For example, if you say, I want to know more about Amit Karna, professor in IIM Ahmedabad, right? So what it might do is that it says Amit Karna is, a professor in IIM Ahmedabad. He has studied in Cambridge. It will cook it up. But it will also cook it up in such a way that it is believable, okay? Because it will not say he has done his PhD in Uzbekistan. It will not say that. It will say Cambridge or Harvard or something like that, so that you will like it also. Okay, so copyright is a big issue, right? Next is GDPR or personal data, right? For example, somebody's personal information has gotten, and now the system has read it. Now you can't remove it from the system because it is not like a traditional database where information is stored in a database and GDPR rule has come. Now please remove it, right? And people can go into the database and remove those entries. Then it's gone. But here it's not like that. The system has learned it and started using it too. So this is a big problem with personal data. So that's why whenever you are doing your checks or you're using ChatGPT, please don't leave your personal information. It gets into the training data, it will be used. Don't say, I hate my boss's name is this. Probably somebody else, your colleague might go there and talk about his boss, then it will come out also. So I'm just saying. So personal information is a big issue with this. Stay away. Now, interpolation and extrapolation, right? There are some things, data, not all circumstances could be covered by data, right? For example, Tesla was training their cars, right, on self-drive mode, correct? So they went through lot of training data they have given. The car learnt it all the way, and it started understanding it, and it was going. And all of a sudden, one day, one of the Tesla driver calls and says that my Tesla, while I was going on the road, it was finding a traffic signal in every 10 meters distance. For every 10 meters distance, it was finding a traffic signal. And people were like surprised. Oh my God, how can that be? I mean, every 10 meters, there is no traffic signal anywhere, right? He says that was going on for a long time. Okay. So then they started trying to understand what is the problem, and they got the, cameras, and they recorded camera recordings and everything. They have picked it up. Then they realized that this car was driving behind a truck, and the truck was carrying some traffic signal kind of things, right? The traffic signals, and the truck was carrying it. That's all. So this car thought that there are traffic signals in front of it, and it is seeing that it is coming and going, and again it is seeing it. It says that there is a traffic signal everywhere. So you understood what I'm trying to say, right? So there can be situations where the system has not seen it, right, and it can mislead you.
Looks like system is making a human error.
Absolutely. You got it right. Right? Absolutely. So these things can happen, right? That is what I'm trying to tell you. Who said that they're using ChatGPT very often? I think it is.
I said.
Yes. So yeah. So be careful. Just be conscious that these things can happen, and you got to be a little more, forgiving and trying to understand about this, right? Yeah. So let me go to the next thing, right? The advantages of ChatGPT or deep learning, right, is again, if you see the model's performance when you use neural networks, is larger the network and larger the data size, it gets better, right? So if you see the data size is increasing and large neural network, it is like, ChatGPT 3, 4, more, neurons and better understanding. And then based on that, it always keeps getting better, right? And this is one advantage. Again, machine learning and deep learning, there is some, just a quick understanding. I'll share this presentation with you guys. You can always see it once again. But the ability that there's a GPU cost and CPU costs are very expensive, right? In fact, if you were to ask me, for everything to happen, right, there has to be some kind of a disruptive technology which enables us to do a few things, right? For example, LCD screens was a disruptive technology, right? Till then, we had this tubes, cathode ray tube televisions, the large bulky televisions, right? And then LCD came, and all of a sudden the cathode ray tubes were gone, and the LCD screens became bigger, better, right? And you had large screens, correct?
Yes.
So, what changed is the concept of LCD, right? LCD came in and everything changed. So, do you think artificial intelligence all of a sudden came into limelight without anything? There must be something which has changed, right? That enabled us to do this. So, there is a certain type of processing unit called GPUs, graphical processing units. GPUs became cheap. Rather, Just like CPUs, Intel had released i7, i5, i6, i7, right? In fact, after i5, no i6, i7, and i9 and i13, they're going that way. So GPUs came into picture. NVIDIA was one of the companies which started releasing graphical processing units, right? It can look at graphics and also share things, right? So that became cheap, right? And the advent of cloud computing, right? If you see, who are the pioneers in all the, artificial intelligence, these things, the pioneers or the people who are doing a lot of research are Microsoft, Google, Meta, GCP, because all these guys have a lot of infrastructure, right? Google has got GCP, cloud platform. They have hundreds of millions of computers in all data centers available, correct? Microsoft has got Azure. They have invested a lot of money in computers and GPUs, right? And that's the reason why all of a sudden compute is all concentrated at one place. So then this kind of gave rise to the idea of artificial intelligence, right? And also data, availability of data, big data, right? All these things culminated into the emergence of what we see today as artificial intelligence. Okay. So again, just to get an understanding of what we are talking about, the traditional systems are rule-based systems. You have input, you have hand-designed a program that will generate an output, correct? And the classic machine learning is you have an input, you hand-design some features, not the program, and the features then are mapped by the system, and then the system generates the output, correct? Now, in representational learning, that is almost you're talking about a little less than deep learning. Your inputs are there, features are extracted, it is all categorized, and the output is given, right? Whereas in deep learning, it does a simple features, more complex features, then maps the features and creates the classifications and generates the output, right? These gray boxes, if you see, are the artificial learning boxes, right? Or AI, or what you call deep learning algorithms and models, which are actually crunching the input and then generating the output. Now, this is a very good video I would like to show to people about how deep learning was used by Google.
Last year at Google I/O, we announced Google AI to bring the benefits of AI to everyone. And we want this to work globally, so we are opening AI centers around the world. AI is going to impact many, many fields. And I want to give you a couple of examples today. Healthcare is one of the most important fields AI is going to transform. Last year, we announced our work on diabetic retinopathy. It's a leading cause of blindness, and we use deep learning to help doctors diagnose it earlier.
We use deep learning.
And we've been running field trials since then at Aravind and Sankara hospitals in India, and the field trials are going really well. We are bringing expert diagnosis to places where trained doctors are scarce. It turned out...
I'm pausing. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the interesting thing is he's talking about deep learning. Okay. If it was machine learning and if it was supervised learning, the doctors would have told the system what to look for, correct? Doctors would say, look out for this, then it is diabetic retinopathy, otherwise it is not, correct? Whereas they are using deep learning where doctors not involved, right? And then they are using the machines to learn on its own and see what it learns.
Same retinal scans there were things which humans quite didn't know to look for, but our AI systems offered more insights. Your same eye scan turns out holds information with which we can predict the 5-year risk of you having an adverse cardiovascular event, heart attack or strokes. So to me, the interesting thing is that, more than what doctors could find in these eye scans, the machine learning systems offer newer insights. This could be
So you understood what he's trying to say? He's saying it can now. Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it can actually predict the age of the person, right? It can predict the sex of the person, in the sense whether it's a male or a female. It also predicts whether he's a smoker or a non-smoker. It can also predict whether he's a diabetic or not a diabetic. It also predicts, an eye scan is predicting the BMI of a person and his BP, systolic blood pressure. See, there's so many things which humans could not relate the eye scan with all these things, but the machine figured it out.
Newer insights. This could be the basis for a new non-invasive way to detect cardiovascular risk. And we just published the research, and we are going to be working to bring this to field trials with our partners. Another area where AI can help is to actually help doctors predict medical events. Turns out doctors have a lot of difficult decisions to make. And for them, getting advance notice, say 24 to 48 hours before a patient is likely to get very sick, is a tremendous difference in the outcome. And so we put our machine learning systems to work. We've been working with our partners using de-identified medical records. And it turns out if you go and analyze over 100,000 data points per patient, more than any single doctor could analyze, we can actually quantitatively predict the chance of readmission 24 to 48 hours before, earlier than traditional methods. It gives doctors more time to act. We are publishing our paper on this later today, and we are looking forward to partnering with hospitals and medical institutions.
Now you can understand its strength. He is talking about 100,000 data points of a single patient. Do you think any human being, any number of doctors can actually sit and correlate 1 lakh data points about Rahul Sharma and tell that he's going to fall in love with this girl? Is it possible?
No, Rahul Sharma will tell himself.
Rahul Sharma, he will fall for every girl. That's a different story. But just imagine, that is the kind of strength now AI is giving you. The machine learning and deep learning is going to give you. It can take.
I think AI will tell whether it fell truly for her or not.
I didn't get you. Once again?
Name. The AI will tell whether Rahul fell truly for her or not.
I don't know. Truly or not. I'm not very sure though.
I am also deciding, Sai.
All right. Yeah. But you understand the strength of this system now, right? It can correlate so many things in such a short period of time and can predict, right? That is the strength of the system. I think humanly it's not possible. No amount of doctors, no amount of system, no amount of process you put together can match the kind of insights a machine can give. Do you guys agree?
Yep.
So
True.
that is the strength of machine learning. That is the strength of artificial intelligence. And we are just at the cusp of this becoming big. Okay. So that's the one reason why I insisted that I have to go through this, and I insisted I should present this to you guys. it's going to change the world. It's going to define human beings before AI and human beings after AI. And people who think that this is a hype, this is something like blockchain which is coming and leaving. No, we can see the results. You can see the retinopathy talking about whether this guy has got a high BP or a low BP. Tomorrow, systems will just look at you and tell you a lot of things which you don't know, which no doctor can do. They have already seen in hospitals, typically in hospitals, what happens is, a radiologist gets, if it's a big hospital, he'll get per day 60, 70 X-rays, right? How many can he actually concentrate and then try and completely spend his time to read what is happening in the X-ray? He won't have the time, right? So what he does is he looks at 4 or 5 things, right? Just like how I recognize a fellow Indian by looking at 4 or 5 points on his face, I'll say, okay, these are the things, this is that guy, right? But can he really understand the full X-ray? No.
No.
Machine learning, it's possible. Ritika, you're saying something?
Actually, like I have one of my friend, her main MS project was this. Like she has actually done this deep learning, and using this, her father is also a doctor, so they can actually they using her algorithm, they used to read the x-rays, and it actually helped the doctors and all, and it's used in some of the biggest hospitals in US.
This is not a technology which is just a fly by night operator. We are going to see this in a lot of places, right? Now, there are places where there are certain even what you call limitations for this, right? For example, if you want to put this whole artificial intelligence into your handheld device like a phone, do you think it has the capacity to kind of do this kind of number crunching? No, right? It needs the infrastructure behind it, correct? And there are certain limitations. Sometimes you are short of time. For example, like all of you must be doing UPI transactions, right? All of you are doing UPI transactions?
Yes.
Right. How long does it take for the transaction to complete?
1 or 2 seconds.
Pardon?
Couple of seconds.
Yeah. 5, 6 seconds, 10 seconds might be, right? In fact, RBI has said if it is beyond 30 seconds, they consider it a failure, right? They will cancel the transaction if it goes beyond 30 seconds, right? Now, within this 10 seconds, I've designed the system for HDFC Bank. I know what it is. So, number of touch points it has in the bank are huge, right? Let's say I am transferring money to Bimal, right? First, NPCI picks it up. NPCI talks to Bimal's bank, which could be ICICI Bank. Then it comes to my bank, which could be HDFC Bank, right? First, it is deducting some money from Bimal's account. Then it is crediting money in my account. During all this process, it also has to check whether this is a fraudulent transaction. So how much time does it have to check whether it's a fraudulent transaction? It has less than a second, sometimes at best 2 seconds. The system has to look at the transaction, look at my history, look at Vimal's history, and try and figure out whether this is a fraudulent transaction or a real transaction, and stop it or allow it. 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Now, can I use all the AI algorithms, all the best AI algorithms? Not possible. I need to have a quantum computer to kind of churn out all the possibilities, right? So there are a lot of trade-offs we do, even in machine learning. There is something called trade-offs, right? For example, all of you, they create this matrix called, assuming this transaction is real and it has succeeded, assuming this transaction is false and it has failed. Both are good cases, but then the false positives and true negatives are the biggest problem, right? The transaction has succeeded and it's a, it's a fraudulent transaction. That is one situation. Sometimes it is a good transaction, but it failed. That could be the true negative, right? Now, the systems are designed in such a way that they give preference to true negative than false positive, right? Even if the transaction has failed, it is better than a fraudulent transaction actually happening. So the system has to work on trade-offs. What can it trade off to gain the speed, right? So it cannot do all the calculations. It can only do certain calculations. So it will, and again, sometimes you might want to have a drone. Let's say you have a drone which is fighting terrorists, right? So it can go fly in the sky and then go down and then figure out a guy. It will look at his facial recognition. It says this guy is a match, 100% match. I will shoot him. I'll kill him, right? This is a system. Now, if it's a false positive, it becomes a big problem, isn't it? It will kill an innocent guy. And at the same time, how much time it has got? It's got like 3-4 seconds to make a decision and do it. Right? And it's a system which is flying in the air. It cannot have a large computer. It cannot have large, mechanisms to do a lot of number crunching and do things. Right? So the systems are also around it, place a lot of limitation on AI. Bimal, go on.
Yeah. I think at Ahmedabad airport, they have this DG Yatra thing going on. So you just have to upload your pass, and when you go to the counter, they would just recognize your face and let you go in.
Correct.
Something similar.
Yeah, something similar. But here, if they don't let you in automatically, it is not a big problem, right?
True.
You will get angry, you will make a bit of noise, they will take you to the side and they will check your identity card and let you go.
Yep.
That is okay.
Kill me for sure.
Nobody gets killed there, right? or you might not, you'll not miss your flight also, probably you'll go through.
Yeah.
So there are these trade-offs which need to happen. So the system, there will be system limitations. For all you know, the camera at your DigiYatra, it's a small, portable unit. I cannot put a supercomputer inside it and then do all sorts of, history check about Bimal Dave's Facebook account. What is he writing about, some terroristic organization, all those things. I cannot do that much. I can do to some extent, right? And then take some trade-offs and then let you in or stop you.
Right.
So systems can also be a limitation for system, time. These could be two limitations. Amount of memory it needs, amount of number crunching it needs, it may not have it. That's right. Or, I bought the drone. Then my data science engineer comes and says, sir, I've got a pakka algorithm, but it needs 1 terabyte hard disk to be fit on this drone. He says, what the hell? I cannot change my drone now, right? I mean, I bought the system now. You have to do some trade-offs and move on. So these are the limitations where systems can go through. Anyway, what am I trying to do? So dimensions of artificial intelligence. We are talking about, something which is more on the red circles. We are talking about more, physical, and whereas of the blue circles, we are talking about something which is happening in your head, right? Sense of urgency, theory of mind. These are all possibilities. And currently, where we are, why we have the green whys we have actually found this thing. The yellows we are still there, but red is we are not still able to do it. So that's the reason there's a huge potential for the system to grow. There's a huge potential for it to learn, and the whole intelligence can get better. Again, very simple thing. The traditional programming is where you write a program, you give it a data, computer, runs the program, picks the data, creates the output. Whereas in machine learning, you give the data and you tell the output, the computer will write the program itself, right? You understand the kind of understanding the difference between what is the traditional programming and what is the machine learning? Guess it is not so much for, right? Now, here's one thing all of us has to understand, right? So now, after hearing all this, Rahul Sharma says, I want to use AI in my business, right? All he thinks is, I will write some machine code, throw my data at it, and it's all done. I'll get insights. People will, next customer who comes into my shop will buy a lot of kurtas and go, right? That is what most of us think it is, right? But no. Sorry, no, I had to use your name on it. But there's a lot of information which we need to do. That is, first we have to understand, collect the data, right? Extract the features, right? What features you want. And you have to verify your data, whether you have the right data, right format it's in which it is. Then you have to write the analysis tools, you have to write the ML code, then you'll have to write, test it, and you'll have to see whether you have the infrastructure, you have the computers, you have the machines, you have the time to kind of deliver all this, right? So there's a lot of surrounding systems which are also very important. That is why the data engineer or the data sciences are very important for artificial intelligence. That's the idea why I'm trying to put up this slide here, is that it's just not, writing a model which will take your data and give out insights, right? It's not simple as that. You'll have to understand your data and do this, right? So what are the machine level life cycle, right? You'll have to first, what they say, first you'll have to make the business case a data case, right? You'll have to convert the business case into a data case and then extract the data what is needed, explore the analysis, build a machine learning model, and then do some validation tests, and then the model can be deployed. These are the kind of steps we need to do. And just to get the amount of work it takes, right? 60% of the time it takes is only for data extraction and preparation. That is 60% of time. Again, bottom line, I'm saying data is more important. The better data you have, the better insights you can generate. Got it? And everything you are collecting may not be readily consumable for your system. You will have to condition it, you have to prepare it, right? And then use the models to work on it. And model validation and evaluation and the feature engineering. These are the two areas where you as a business leader should know what you want, right? Or you need to have the business intelligence or the domain knowledge is what we call, right? If you are into retail, domain knowledge is important. These are the areas where you need to have this. Building the machine model is where your data science engineers come into play, right? Data science engineers will come into play. And model deployment is where your software developers who actually write the application, which will cover all the whole thing as a running system, will come into play. Software developers come in the last model deployment, and model building the model is where the data science engineers come. Rest of it comes into business. Even preparing the data and also extracting the data, the IT guys come into play. but use case identification and problem formulation. These are the places where all you senior leaders have to start thinking. Now that you know what is down the stream you need, you know how to get this. So I tried to do something, I'll show Tata Semiconductor plant. Somebody said on 1st of March, right, that Tata cabinet has approved Tata
Yes.
Semiconductor.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Then I went to Times of India. I said, oh, it's okay, it is in Dholera, Gujarat, right? Then I went to ChatGPT and asked, where are the new Tata Semiconductor plants coming up? What does it say? It says, I don't have any idea. My last update was January 2022. So this is something you need to worry. ChatGPT, whatever you're using, 3.5 has only information about this world until Jan 22. After that, what happened, it doesn't know. Right? Now, mixing that with hallucinations, it can be a dangerous thing if you are using it. Okay? I also tried this. I said, what is the last 10 digits of the value of pi? Okay. It said, oh, this is the value of pi. 14159, blah, blah, blah. And I said, are you sure? It said, oh, sorry, I'll give you the correct answer. And it changed it. Then I said, my wife says this is wrong. It says, wait, I'm sorry. No. It changed it again. And it still said you're wrong. And it changed it once again. ChatGPT, while it's a very useful tool, be careful. It can be a problem for you guys. Now, what is generative AI? People keep saying generative AI, right? Any guess?
Don't know.
Mixture of all this, where we can actually generate higher model and everything.
You have told me one unknown with another unknown, so I don't know both. Okay, so you threw in some model, some mixture, and nice. Yeah. Okay, no offense, but simple. Anything which it generates is generative AI. Okay.
Yes.
Simple as that, right? If it generates an answer for you, it's generative AI. It generates a picture for you, it's a generative AI. It can generate a game for you, it's generative AI, right? Anything which generates, simple as that, as a thumb rule, right? You can go.
Is it like another word of automation that we use? It's a type of automation, right?
No. In automation, you are giving what are the possible answers to, right? It is not generating anything out of the fly.
Okay.
Automation is saying, automation is like, if this happens, do that, right? That is automation. Here, it is not going to, you're not going to tell what to do. It is generating.
Okay.
Got it? Using artificial intelligence, it is generating. It creates 3D models. It can create music, right? It can create content. It can generate voice. It can generate art. Chatbots can discuss with you and then generate solutions, right? Video creation, editing, all this, anything which generates, it's called generative AI. Okay.
Sai, I think nowadays, especially in mobiles, a lot of things have come on generative AI, like, modifying the videos after you take or photos you take. Is it also called generative AI?
Yeah. Yes. Now, there are certain things which happen only on your phone, and there are certain things which are happening at a different server in the cloud, right? For example, there is, while you're typing, right, do you see it is predicting the next word?
Yeah.
But do you think all your information is going to the cloud and coming back?
Cannot be because it is happening it immediately. So it's
Correct. So certain things are happening on the local machine. Some certain things are happening on the cloud. What is happening on the local is a very limited, right? It's a small generative, but it's a very small AI, and the data for it is your text. So whatever text you have written, it read that, and then it is predicting that now that Rahul has written "I love you," he will also write "I love you" somewhere else. That's what it is predicting. Sorry, Rahul, I have to keep getting at you with this.
Sai, we have a hard stop at the end of the hour.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, I'm pretty much done. So there are a few things like, by 2030, they say, a blockbuster film will come, which is completely AI generated, probably from text to video. And I would suggest try this particular URL. It's very interesting. Read it when you have time for it. And if I'll quickly run through this, I'm pretty much done. It explains a lot of things. It is this actually, right? It's talking about the entire, whatever concepts I've kind of covered, it completely covers it in a nice way, right? It says we are going to work. So it tries to understand, we go to work by train. If that is the sentence, how it will try and break it and how it will try and understand it, right?